Mary?
Thanks, Dwayne. Mary Morrison, followed by Michelle Miller.
Justice.
The letter to the Commission on Judicial Ordinances to ensure justice under constitutional law. 455 Golden Gate Avenue, Suite 14400, San Francisco, California. Subject to Commission Carol for Hillary. Honorable Commissioners. Number one, we, the $2,503.1 billion congressionally embezzled people of our state of 752 congressionally lynched dead Californians, ordain a commission on judicial performance to ensure that our judicial officers provide us justice by administering supreme constitutional law in our courts of constitutional law. The courts are 1/3 of the power of good government. However, public records, documents that since the Enron-sponsored organized crimes on 9/11, we, the congressionally betrayed people, have been lied to and endangered by our governments and have received injustice from our governments. Does the Commission want to maintain lying, endangering, and corrupt governments? Number two, since October 16th, 2002, the congressional record shows that this Constitution for the United States, quoting the preamble, has been aborted as he determines to be necessary under Section 3A of Public Betraying Martial Law 107243. Number three, this is my second complaint to the Commission regarding the conspiracy to maintain United States mass murder and world terrorism through fascist gaming that is preventing me and the 9/11 Truth campaigners whom I sponsor from exercising our sacred, inalienable, inviolate, and constitutionally secured rights to stand in open California superior courts under constitutional law and receive justice by due process of law that is guaranteed by supreme constitutional law on petitions to California Superior Court for redress of grievances against duly elected California judicial officers in Sonoma County. They refuse to administer justice and to violate due process of law and thereby violate constitutional security rights. First, Number four. Please recall that my first complaint filed with this commission on December 11, 2012 was a 294-page document entitled "We, the Congressionally Betrayed People, Cry for Justice." It cites 27 violated authorities, and it includes over 200 pages of relevant exhibits. Disclosure of evidence and treasonously related document painfully details that, quote, Paul Hopkins LP, a California Limited Partnership plaintiff, unquote, and its attorney, John A. Holdridge, in Sonoma County conspired with California Judicial Officer Gary Adler to violate me as a single defendant in a tort case, SCB 2389697, that is duly filed against, quote, John Jinkle and Does 1 through 15 inclusive defendants who are the 9/11 Truth Campaign, as evidenced on page 142. Number five, so far.
Thank you. Michelle Miller, followed by Maria Stuber.
Yeah, Maria in here. She didn't say anything that she was riding with me. She knows what time it was.
Good morning. Exhibit B, that is duly filed against John Jinkle and those 1 through 15 inclusive defendants who are the 9/11 Truth Campaign, as evidenced on page 142 in our enlightening missive to this commission. 5. So far, the commission has gotten away with its outrageous abuse of power to protect California Superior Court violations of my colleagues' sacred, inalienable, inviolate, and constitutionally secured rights to defend ourselves and to petition corrupt governments for redress of grievances. This refusal to provide us due process of supreme constitutional law is no doubt because the commission serves Phantom California Governor Willie Brown, who protects all levels of organized crime, the highest of which is Hoover Institute advised and CIA promoted unconstitutional, undeclared United States force of congressional choice, never necessity, against CIA fabricated enemies that serve the warmonger and addiction industries, the 1% and the Christian wrong at the unsustainable expense of we, the betrayed people. 6. The term "da" means Willie Brown stained. Had the Enron-sponsored organized crimes on 9/11 been perpetrated as desperate Enron builder Ken Lay planned, Lay's California energy bandit partner, Boss Dem and Wizard of Deception Willie, would have been appointed vice president of the totally deceived mentioned co-defendants in California Superior Court case number SCV 238697 or the 9/11 Truth Campaign, because we are effective in exposing A, 2,982 bad boy born-again Bush caused unplanned murders on 9/11, B, that Wiz Willie was the planned top benefactor of 9/11, and C, 2 unconstitutional wars of congressional choice since 9/11 based on lies. We are the most targeted people in modern history. This frivolous, torture, and land-grabbing case is one example. Today, the Commission's refusal to help us hold identified traitors and terrorists accountable is another example of our being targeted. 8. In this Commission's May 16, 2013 conclusion that there was, quote, no support for any allegation of impropriety by the judge you named, unquote, Exhibit C, in my 295-page first complaint of December 11, 2012. The 11-member California Commission on Judicial Performance joined a 13-year conspiracy to silence the 9/11 Truth Campaign by conspiring against our sacred, inalienable, inviolate, and constitutionally secured rights to receive due process, the supreme constitutional law, and all laws made in pursuance thereof. The Commission's joining this conspiracy could not be more obvious.
Thank you very much. Maria Stuber, followed by Roseanne Snyder.
It's not here.
Roseanne?
Yeah. Oh, damn, I'm good.
I'll continue with this document. The Commission's joining this conspiracy could not be more obvious to us. 9. By finding no support for any allegation of impropriety by the judge you named, all 11 commissioners on the 2013 Commission, A, conspired against our constitutionally secured rights in violations of the United States Code Title 18, Section 241, which is the capital crime listed as Authority 1 on page 26, Exhibit D of the complaint. All 11 commissioners in 2013 are ripe for death penalties. There is no statute of limitation against capital crimes. B, evaded their duty under oath of office and public employment contracts with we, the 2,503.1 billion congressionally embezzled people of our state, of 752 congressionally lynched God-fearing dead Californians, to provide justice and due process under supreme constitutional law without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, in violations of oath to constituents and in breaches of contracts with constituents. And C, gave aid and comfort to enemies of the state who profit from United States mass murder and world terrorism for fascist gain by covering up that over 700 God-fearing Californians were lynched by 7 Congresses and over 200,000 million of we, the people of California's resources, was squandered by 7 Congresses to fund their being deprived of life by Hillary Clinton and 372 other members of the 107th Congress in favor of enemies, foreign and domestic, which is treason. Therefore, all 11 commissioners on the 2013 Commission are ripe for a second death penalty under California Penal Section 37, which is the capital crime listed as Authority 2 on page 27, Exhibit E. 10. The 9/11 Truth Campaign will not pursue 2 death penalties against the 11 California public officers on the 213 Commission for their treason if the current Commission revises the 2013 treasonous finding of no impropriety by California judicial officer.
Thank you. Chris Gibbons, followed by Rich Hannon.
California Judicial Officer Gary Nadler provides our constitutional story and democracy-saving 294-page complaint due process of Supreme Constitutional Law to help hold no doubt Willie Brown terrorized California judicial traitor Gary Nadler accountable for denying me my most sacred human right to defend myself and then fraudulently fining me $349,760 based on never examined lies in a case against 16 at all times mentioned co-defendants, as documented on page 143, Exhibit B2. 11. The 2013 commissioners and California Judicial Officer Gary Nadler are treasonously evading their duties under oath and contract, apparently as California Supreme Governor Willie Brown, top intended benefactor of the Enron-sponsored McKinley Lake plant, organized crimes on 9/11. Determined to be necessary under Section 3A of Martial Law 107243, which is page 195, Exhibit A2. This record-breaking treasonous vote by Hillary Clinton, Exhibit A3, and 372 other traitors in the 107th Congress on October 16, 2002, is commonly known as the Iraq Authority to Use Military Force, or the Iraq AUMF. It actually authorizes the use of the armed forces of the United States as he determines to be necessary, not the use of military force. Armed forces include military force and every public paid unit with a public-owned gun, including over 240,000 foreign mercenaries who kill on the cheap. Second complaint, that the commission may not evade without peril. 22. My second complaint to the commission by listeners calls attention to my first complaint to the commission, my 295-page cry for justice. And since December 11, 2012, the commission has evaded. It cries out for due process of Supreme Constitutional Law in the nature of a correcting mandate to set aside a $349,760 judgment that I can prove to any jury of we the congressionally betrayed people in less than an hour is constitutionally defective and invalid. Said issue of the order in Exhibit L is treasonously evaded by California Judicial Officer Gary Nadler and has been treasonously evaded by the Commission as described above since May 16, 2013. Exhibit B, number 23. My second complaint includes another cry for due process of Supreme Constitutional Law directed to the Commission on my second petition for extraordinary relief in the nature of prohibition. Thank you.
Thank you. Rich Sherman, followed by John Dangle.
Continue where Chris left off. 23. My second complaint includes another cry for due process of Supreme Constitutional Law directed by the Commission on my second petition for extraordinary relief in the nature of prohibition. In Mandanis case SCV 242315, that has been treasonably evaded since July 21st, 2015 by Sonoma County presiding judge Kevin J. Noss. His dishonor refuses to provide due process of Supreme Constitutional Law for my petition for redress of grievances against Hillary Clinton. Two other 2016 presidential candidates and 370 other traitors in the 107th Congress who treasonously authorized the President of the United States to use the armed forces of the United States as he determines to be necessary since October 16, 2002 in the fraudulent and constitutionally defective Iraq AUMF that aborts our Constitution for the United States and establishes the police state of America as a Willie Brown public elected dictator, self-appointed imposter commander-in-chief, determines to be necessary. This record-breaking injustice is causing the world to hate the United States, according to presidential candidate Donald Trump. Go the Donald, 24. I can prove to any jury of we the congressionally betrayed people beyond doubt in less than 5 minutes that a person betraying martial law 107243 that authorizes the president to use the armed forces of the United States, which includes the court bailiff as he determines to be necessary, and constitutionally defective and invalid of the 14th Amendment, Martial Law
No,
107.
under section 3 of.
Under Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, Martial Law 107-243 authorizer Hillary Clinton is disqualified from holding any public office under the United States of America. Her $45 million of 2016 presidential campaign donations will not change that fact. 25, any California public officer, including the commission staff, 11 commissioners, and Sonoma County presiding judge Kenneth J. Noss, who prevents or hinders our rights to hold former United States Senator Hillary Clinton accountable for treason in any state court or supreme constitutional law, conspires against our rights to restore democracy under the Constitution. 4, the $18,200 billion dysfunctional United States of 128,000 congressionally lynched, God-fearing dead Americans and commit treason against the state. She or he is right for 2 death penalties, possibly public hanging at my 9/11 Memorial Monument along Gramercy Highway next to 3 parcels of my horse farm that were lawlessly occupied by criminal profiteers who opened the Ball Hog Winery in California. Limited partnership naturally John Jankel, the 9/11 99.
Thank you. John Jankel, followed by Colleen Fernald.
John Jangle, your most violated constituent, and I'm getting even with you. I'm doing it through the Commission on Judicial Performance, who has the duty to correct the presiding judge across the street, who refuses to let me file a second complaint where he has grievances about Hillary Clinton and 372 other traitors in 107 Congress, who authorized the President of the United States, and Lieutenant White Killer George W. Bush, to use the armed forces of the United States as eternally necessary in order to cover up 2,980 murders of fellows. I didn't have a first lady to say that in the White House before 9/11. How many times have I told you this? Now it's in the hands of somebody who can do something about it. You refuse to do anything about it. You all commit treason. You all give aid to domestic enemies. And for that reason, I can tell you, either you help me get my farm back that this county took without due process of law, Mr. Counselor, took without due process of law. No court order, sir. There's the judgment, but you've heard our explaining today, the judgment isn't worth the paper it's written on. And that judgment was never directed by a judge, by a judicial officer. It was directed, the seizure of my property was directed by Mr. Hedgehog. Done by your staff, state staff in the court. And then your sheriff, and I think you have some control of the sheriff's department. You pay the bills for we the people. Had 3 sheriff auctions where nobody else was allowed. I got a witness right here in the room, 2 of them. Nobody else allowed. Paul Payne took a picture of it. It's all there, black and white. And either you get on the right side of this issue, or you're in big trouble. I don't know what else to say. I'm going to win. I'm right. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Colleen Fernald, sorry.
I beg your pardon, she couldn't make it here today. I am Dr.